So in this series, we're going to be creating a PHP validator, and I'll quickly demonstrate how this works, and then we'll take a look at the code and see how we actually use this class. So you can see that I've got a basic form here with a username, an email and a password, and I'm going to leave all of these blank. When I hit submit, you see that we've got this array back here. Now we're not going to be delving in how we're actually displaying the errors to the user. That's fairly straightforward because we've got an array structure here with keys that correspond to the field names and then all of the errors within here. So you can see here that we've got a couple of errors for each field because they're both required, and we've also got email validation. So obviously an empty email is not a valid email address, and also a username and a password must be a minimum of 3 and 6 characters respectively. So we're going to be learning how to do this. Now let's take a look at how the code works. We'll basically be creating two classes here. One is an error handler and one's a validator. The reason we're doing this is because technically the error handling can be reused elsewhere, and it's not specifically part of the validator class. So we'll be doing this. If it sounds complicated to you, don't worry, it's not that difficult. But we're basically injecting this as a dependency. So the basis of this is to create a validator instance or an object, and then we use this check method. Now we can either pass an array, an associative array hard-coded, or build this up ourselves, or we can literally just pass the post super global. You can see I'm checking that it's not empty up here. Probably better ways to do that, but yeah, I'm basically just passing all of this post data in, and that obviously comes from the form that we saw just a moment ago. So once this is posted through, it goes into here, and then we pass in an array of lots of different rules. Now this is an associative array, and the keys here correspond to the field names. So we've got name, username, email and password, and then we give things like required true, max length 20, min length, whether we want to validate this as an email, etc, etc. And this is so easy to extend. So if you need additional checks for certain things, maybe you want to check if a field is alphanumeric or something like that, we'll be going over within the series how you can extend this for your own use. So we're not just restricted to what we're going to be doing here. We've then got some sort of helpful methods like fails. This very much replicates frameworks like Laravel, where it just flows really nicely. So that's the inspiration for how this sort of works. So if the validation does fail, we've got a couple of options. So let's just briefly discuss these. We've got this errors method here, which basically returns an error handler. And from this, what we can do is we can fetch all errors, which what we saw here, so that gives us all the errors. What we can also do though is specify and hit a key, so I can say I just want all errors relating to the username. So in this case, if I resubmit the form, that just gives us a list of the errors specifically relating to the username. Just as a side note as well, these messages here are highly customizable. We have placeholders in place of the field and what satisfies the check. So what we can also do is we can grab the first error from a specific field. So if you just wanted to display this maybe just next to the field here, you can see here we've got this, the username field is required. We could do the same for the password as well, for example. That would do pretty much just the same thing, like that. So it's very flexible, easy to extend, and when you actually come to use the validator class, the syntax that we're going to be building here is fairly memorable. You can easily remember this for your projects. So that's how it works. This is how it all looks. We're going to be building the error handler and validator class completely from scratch. It really isn't too complicated, but you get this really effective validation system out of it.